Welcome to Dust 2 for Noobs. Dust 2 is one of the most popular maps in the Counter-Strike franchise, and for good reason. It is an exceptionally balanced map, and it's oftentimes one of the first map a new player will play. In this video, we'll go over callouts for the map, common camping spots, and strategies for both sides. So jumping right into it, this right here is T-spawn. Of course you can go to A that way, or B this way. Then right over here is outside tunnels. Coming into tunnels here, upper tunnels, and then down these stairs right here, lower tunnels. Lower tunnels looks into mid, Xbox, and catwalk. Back up here, we come into the B site itself. If we look left, people call this close left, close right. Some people call this dog. Right here is fence. And then this area over here is closet and car. Some people would just call this car as well, because I mean it's pretty much the same spot that you're going to be looking, so just be aware that sometimes you might hear this called car or closet. This right here is big box, B plat, barrels, back of plat. Right here is double stack. And then behind the double stack right here is safe, because a terrorist will plant here to be covered from every angle. So if you hear somebody saying safe, that's where they are. Right here is default, or under window, some people might call it. Again, this is under window as well. And if you haven't guessed, right here is window. But this is just back of sight. And then, again, up here, window. This is scaffolding. These are outside of B, or outside B boxes, and then doors. And coming down into here is CT mid, as it goes into CT spawn. Mid doors. Again, Xbox. And then mid itself. Some people call this mid barrels or upper mid barrels, but there used to be a palm tree here. They replaced it with a telephone pole and barrels. So if you hear someone call palm, this is what they are referring to. This is top mid. Over here, suicide. Aptly named because if a terrorist comes down here, they'll probably be picked by an opper. Again, top mid. Catwalk. Over there. This is outside long. And then long doors, this area here. You come out of here into long. This is blue or dumpster. Side of pit. Pit. And long plat. Some people call it pit plat. A little tongue twister there. And then all of this again is long. And then you reach here, this is car. This little area here. Pretty common spot that someone will be sort of jump scouting, or just camping in general. And then over here is ramp. This area right here is cross, and then CT ramp and elevator. This right here is actually called boost. You might hear somebody call this gay spot. I didn't choose the name, it's just what people call it. Just because people like to sit here, they can kind of, well, they die pretty easily, but you can kind of pick cat or just peek out. So keep that in mind. And then over here is goose. Aptly named. They actually just added that a little bit ago, but that's been there since 1.6. And these barrels. And then this is safe, excuse me. And then default. Same reasons as before. Safe plant and then default plant. And then this is a long plant. People will plant here if they're going to be holding it from long with an op or even an AK. And then planting for cat. Right here is pizza, because people will buy nades and then they'll throw nades off of it to get sight. I've heard people call these quad boxes before. So if you hear that, they might be just call that. Or just boxes in general. And then ninja over in this corner. because you can be pretty hidden if you're facing the wall like this. And this is just A plat in general, this whole entire area. And if we come on over here, this is cat stairs, or cat stairs, some people call them. And then all of this over here is cat. And it comes over into top mid here. And now we'll go over some common camping spots. So again, starting off here in T-spawn. A lot of people will save their weapons in T-spawn. They'll come into one of these cubbies here. Even over there. Or over there. Sometimes even over here. People will hide in suicide over here. Sit in this little doorway. Behind this box here. Or here. Again, very common spot for CTs or Ts to save their weapons. Anywhere in spawn behind these walls, they'll sit. In that cubby over there. Even right here, sometimes. Not the best spot, but... And then in these cubbies over here. I like to sit right here when I save, just because they can't see you if they're just running by tunnels. Or if they're coming up there, you're pretty protected. So be careful of that spot. Sometimes people sit there. Definitely behind these boxes, this is pretty common. This corner over here. Kind of jump up the box as well, just so you know. Again, over in this corner. A lot of times you'll see somebody holding right here from T-spawn, excuse me, with an op if they're saving their weapon, so just be careful of those barrels. And again, either side, they'll be sitting trying to get exit frags. Careful of this pillar here. Watching lower tunnels from this angle right there, or even from stairs, they'll be coming up here, or watching it as a CT. This close angle right there, and right there. Behind this box, either side. Definitely behind those doors, very common. Or anywhere like right there, watching lower tunnels, or as a terrorist, peeking mid from headshot box, as your head's only showing. And then back up here. A lot of times the terrorist will hold this angle behind this box here. And then as we come into B site, of course, again, these two angles. And even, let's see if I can get on top of this box. On top of this box, the CT will sit a lot of times. And just kind of spray down into some heads. Of course, in this corner. Your gun might stick out, though. So if you look at the wall, it probably won't. Just kind of have a eyeball on that, like that. Sometimes I see somebody sitting up here. Or behind the barrels. These are all angles you just kind of want to clear or keep an eye on as you're pushing into sight or clearing angles again. Behind this box. You don't want to sit too far right, though, because they can see you through this gap. They added that intentionally. But oftentimes you'll see an op holding this angle. Let's say just by an op. My mouse isn't working for some reason. So they'll be sitting like this. There's my AK. Sometimes you'll see somebody sitting up here, but it's not very often. They'll do that just so that they'll get the jump on you, because they can aim at your head like this, and then they have to correct, you know, to look up there to hit you. So just be wary of that. And again, behind here. Or over here. So you can watch door. And of course, behind this box here in closet. Or by car. Occasionally you'll be retaking a site and you'll see somebody sitting right here. And of course, back of sight. In window. Or on scaffolding there. Another very common spot to watch mid. Or a rotate, you can kind of crouch and then as you hear them coming up, you can spray them down. This is actually a pretty common spot that a CT will opt from. If there's a smoke there, they can kind of come back here and see over it. Or even sometimes right here. And even somebody will stand right here if they think a terrorist is going to come from mid. Or a CT if you're a terrorist. Either or. Sometimes right here. Or again, either side of these boxes. Very common. And if you have a smoke here, be careful of this little angle. because it can kind of jump up here and see over it a little bit by jumping, and then get that information, and then just kind of estimate where you're going to be going and just sort of spray through the smoke. So be careful of that angle, and alternatively, same thing up here. Or they'll even just jump on top of this handle, right, and then try and pick like that. Either side of the box. Oh, hit my head on something. Guess you can't get on that side. You can get on this side though. And again, behind these doors or in this angle here, be careful there. And this spot. Coming up into mid, again, people will sit right here to try and pick cat. Or in this corner there. Behind these barrels. This angle, terrorists will try and catch rotators. Or even like in this, behind this barrel. These boxes. That thing was in the wall. Got distracted, sorry. An opera will sit here to try and pick anybody peeking long. Or even right here. A very common spot for terrorists to sit is in this corner, so they can try and catch CTs off guard. Anywhere behind these doors, obviously. These doors are a very common spot to sit. Right there. And then again over here. This is a common saving spot right here. You can get anybody coming along, and then you're covered from over there. Get the jump on them. A CT will hold this spot because they can see your gun before they can see you. Over anywhere in this area. Behind the blue dumpster. Over here. Sometimes sitting behind these little stairs. Of course, anywhere in pit. Sometimes up here. Along this little wall. Anywhere on plat. You could even get on top of this box up here. Something you gotta be careful of is somebody getting boosted on top of the blue dumpster. Occasionally, you'll see somebody sitting on top of this wall like this. Again, it's just something that helps them occasionally, just because you have to correct your aim to aim up here. And then a common angle to hold for a CT is this spot. Over here, car, anywhere in this area, people will sit. The heck happened there? Anyways, behind this box, not very often just because it's so dangerous. Or again, down here, in that corner there. Anywhere in CT, you know, this corner. Pretty common angle is this spot right here. And again, if you get an op, you can kind of look through that little crack right there and do some damage. Behind these barrels is very common. Makes you a hard target to hit, but if you do get hit, you don't really have anywhere to go. Definitely goose. It's a common spot anywhere on site here behind these boxes. Sometimes the terrorists will kind of peek over into CT like this. Occasionally you'll see someone sitting behind these barrels or these little wicker baskets or on top of these boxes. So just be wary of those. And again, that dumpster people like to sit on to catch rotators. Careful of this spot. They're pretty hard to see and pretty hard to hit. A lot of times in Opper, let me just give myself some money. A lot of times an Opper will hold this angle, pick you, and then drop down into CT. And then of course terrorists will sit here. This angle, pretty common spot. Or for someone to hold it like this. Or very close like this. Sometimes someone will get boosted on top of this box. Not very often, but it does happen, and they can pick lower tunnels. And again, the same thing with these stairs, someone will sit here. Not very often though, and then I think that's about it for common camping spots. So now we will dive into some T-side strategies, and starting off from T-spawn. If we come over into tunnels here, I don't like taking B from tunnels, but we'll go over it anyways. What I like to do is come over to about here, and do a running throw, bounce your smoke off the wall there. And what that does is it covers off back of sight and to some extent window. They might be able to see over it a little bit, so you gotta be careful of that. But you can do that and then throw some flashes off the same angle. You know, it does that, and it pops behind the smoke, which is a nice thing. And it pops right here, so anybody playing car is going to be blinded. Anybody playing up over there, even if they can see over the smoke, is going to be blinded. If anybody's sitting in the door right here, again, they'll be blinded. So the smoke should land like right about here, I think. So again, anybody playing door, they'll be able to see you, but they'll be blinded by that flash. And then you can just, whoops. You can just push into sight, sorry about that. Clear these angles. Of course over there. And then you can come over and kind of play these angles and window. Like so. And if you don't want to do tunnels or you want to do a split or something, you can come into T-spawn and smoke mid. You know, like that. I don't like to do that myself just because I think it's a waste of a smoke, personally. So I'll come into tunnels and then go lower. This is what a lot of pro teams do as well. I actually spoke myself out there, I just kind of winged it there. But you come into here, and careful of cat, obviously. You know, you can clear cat from lower tunnels. Come into here, and then duck behind this box. And if you aim at this window with a smoke, throw it, it will bounce off and it will land in CT. That smokes off CT. And then what you can do to deal with an op or anybody playing a close angle, so if you aim just above the corner of this box like this, throw a flash, it will pop like that, and they can deal with anybody here. Or if anybody pushed out of the smoke, it will blind them as well. So you can throw a pop flash like that. So again, really quickly, just kind of do this, and this. That pops. Take out these guys. Careful of this angle here. Take down the window guy, anybody playing there or there. And then let's see if I can't screw this up. Throw a pop flash like that, and then push into sight. You can also throw a pop flash off like this thing right here. Let's see if I can't screw it up. You gotta really practice it. I haven't done this in a while, but it pops over there. I screwed it up a little bit, but it should still work a little. And you can come in. Again, you can kind of do this little jig too, and clear that. Or try even throwing it off this blue trim and coming in. Of course, clearing the angles. But those are some pretty simple ways to take B. Again, I don't like taking B, just I think it's a lot harder. Simply because all of these things are just such choke points, but those are some things you can do. And I've actually seen a couple teams doing, like, mid to A. They smoke off right there and right here. And then do a mid to A, they clear this angle. And then they come up and clear that. So that's something, I think Team Immunity did that a little bit ago. I've seen other teams doing it, but that's something you can kind of try. It might work once or twice. You know, it's not something that people often do, so again, that's something you can try. It might be unexpected. So if we come back into spawn here, let's work on some A site takes. Let's say all 5 people are going to go along. Something I like to do is come over to this box. Just kidding, don't crouch. Throw a smoke like that, just aim at that corner. Again, like that. Don't have to crouch. I don't know why I said crouch. But anyways, it will land right there and block off an opper or player playing right here. They do sometimes come over to the edge of the smoke. You can't really see them, but they can see you. So be careful of that. But it just lets you kind of deal with these angles here without having to worry too much about that. They might spray through the smoke even. So you, again, there's tons of variables you gotta worry about, but that just helps you take it a little bit. So it lands there. Kind of do that. But something that kind of drives me nuts, I see in MM all the time, is people just kind of do this. Oh, I'm gonna throw a flash over, it's gonna pop, and then 10 years later I'm gonna peek here, and oh, why? How isn't he blind? I hate when people do that. If you're gonna do that, have someone flash you in that's coming after you, so that you can listen for it to pop, and then peek, and then take that. Otherwise, what I like to do is come into this corner, wait till it bounces off there, and then peek. It pops right as you get around this door. Doesn't blind you, and it blinds anybody playing these angles over in here. Something you can try, I don't know if it still works, but you can kind of throw a smoke like this, and it works as a one-way smoke. Yeah, it still works. They might be able to see your legs or something, but you can kind of do that. Let's see how it looks from over here. See, as one-way smoke, they can't really see you. They might be able to see your feet there. They can try that. It might work 1 or 2 times. I wouldn't do it too often, though. But it's something you can try. But as you clear along, make sure you clear that angle. And then some people just kind of jump into pit, and they get picked. You can't really do anything while you're jumping. I mean, you can go like that, but you're pretty easy to get picked by an op. So what I like to do, especially if I have an op, is come up here, and then you can clear it like that, and then you just drop down. That way you're not, again, jumping in the pit, making yourself an easy target. And then you want to kind of smoke cross or CT. And to smoke CT, if you aim between these two windows, do a running jump and throw, should bounce and then land at your cross. That's actually a bad smoke. Let me try that again. So you line up these two walls, place your crosshair there, and then just do a running jump throw. There we go, that's a little bit better. Should bounce a few times and then land in CT. Like so. As you can see, it blocks off anybody in CT. Sometimes they can see at the edge of it like this, but unless they're pushed all the way up, it should be pretty good to push across. You know, a lot of times people will just kind of wing it and they'll throw it off this wall or something. They'll just kind of like throw it off these angles or something like that. Which might work sometimes, but it's not the greatest thing, you know. A lot of times I'll see that kind of thing happen. So I think it's a lot better to do this. You just kind of line yourself up like this, and then just do a running throw right before you get to the edge of the wall. And again, it will bounce off that roof and land in CT. It is still good to kind of throw a smoke like that, smoke off your cross, in case somebody is playing that angle right there. You know, you can kind of deal with them. And then you can come into A site. Obviously, do that. And now for an A side take, if you're going to go to cat, first and foremost, I'd recommend smoking mid. And I would also recommend smoking Xbox if you can. Let's see if I can get this smoke correct. I haven't done this smoke in a while, but if you come up on top of these boxes, then line these two wires up until they're just barely touching each other. Right about there. And then just put your crosshair where they meet the wall, pull back and throw. It's a little bit tricky to do. I might have, screwed it up. But if you can, smoke off Xbox is very much so beneficial for you, as that completely blocks off any offer. But let's say you're coming into cat, I would definitely throw a flash off that wall, have it pop there, in case anybody's playing this angle here, or definitely at least flash in. And then once you take cat, helps to have an op, but you can kind of peek these angles and then pick here, or just kind of throw flashes over like this and try and pick these angles. Something I have seen pro teams do is come to the bottom of these stairs, or is it right here? I think it's right here, and then you just kind of throw a nade or a smoke grenade like this. Should bounce off these walls and then land in the middle of the site, so that you don't have to deal with these people over here. And then I've seen people do that, and then just kind of throw a smoke like this into CT spawn, and then jump down, make sure it actually lands in CT spawn, and they jump down and then take the site like this, clearing car. So that's something you could actually try. So again, just kind of throw a smoke like this, and then kind of do a jumping right-handed underhand throw into CT spawn. That's a little bit better. And then you can kind of clear the car in this angle and push in. Also flash over. And alternatively, you can have 2 people or 3 people go cat, and the remaining players go long, and do a split. I personally like taking long a little bit better. I have an easier time, but cat is definitely an option. You know, you can kind of do that little flash over If you have 5 people flashing over like this, they're not going to be able to avoid all of them. You know, there's a bunch of flashes popping over. And then you pour into sight. Have someone smoke off CT, block the rotates. You can even have someone block off long if you want to. And then you can kind of storm into the site. But again, I like taking long a little bit better. These are just very, very basic. These are by no means advanced techniques for taking a site, but I've seen pretty good success with this little smoke off site. You can kind of smoke the cross like that, by the way, or long. But that's how you can smoke the cross, or smoke off car, and then push in and deal with site. But now we will hop on over to the CT side and to go over some strategies for holding off the terrorists. So if we start off with the A site, let me buy an op. It's very common to have a CT holding this angle right here. You'll have either 1 or 2 people on B, 1 person mid, and then holding cat, watching cat like that, holding this angle. And what I like to do is I like to smoke off tunnels and then hold this angle back here, or even back here. Sometimes I'll play in window or doors. If I don't have anybody playing mid with an op, if it's 3A, 2B, I'll play window like this with either an M4 or an op or whatever gun I happen to have, just so I can watch mid, and then my teammate will be playing, you know, anywhere back on site here, or typically back here, just so they can watch tunnels. And again, if you're opping, this is a pretty good spot, just because they have to aim lower for your head, and then you can kind of pop back over here, and then pop up, shoot, pop back down, pop up, shoot, pop back down, change your angle like this. And if you do decide to op like up here, not a very wise move to jump up like this, because you're floating, and then you go like that. What I like to do is come over here, jump up, and then your feet kind of stick to this wall. There's very little air time, then you can kind of creep over and then pick that angle. Or sometimes people even play here, or here with an op. You know, and then they can rifle back here. I don't like to hold these close angles by car or anything like that, just because it's, you know, you're kind of boxed in. If you're playing back here, you can kind of duck behind cover. Throw some smokes, throw some flashes as that fades. That pops right there, and then you can kind of spray them down. Don't push like that, though. I mean, don't push into your own flash. I think something like that. I see some people doing, but not too much you can do. I mean, you definitely want to have at least 1 person in sight and then 1 person watching mid, I think. Otherwise, have 2 on site, 1 watching mid, and then 2 on A. You can also have someone holding in CT, rather than on that corner with an op, have them sitting right here to watch the mid push, and then they can easily rotate into A. A lot of times I'll see people fast catting is what it's called. They'll crouch here, then boost the teammate up there. And again, if you have an op, come on, give me the op. There we go. Gave me another AK. There we go. They'll be playing this angle. They'll be playing close with the op. Pick it, fall back, smoke themselves off maybe, and then they can get away. As for holding long as a CT, actually, I forgot they just opened up the skybox here. You can come into this corner here, aim at that little green thing, and then just throw it, and it will smoke off along doors to help out your buddies long. As you can see, it lands right there. If you can get up there quickly, have a good spawn for it, and lets your teammates push out into here, wherever they want. But otherwise, if you don't have anybody doing that, I like to kind of flash over, let it pop, and then peek. And then have a player playing in pit to back me up in case I do die, or someone, whoever's holding here dies, and then I'll be playing pit. And then sometimes you'll have someone playing car here with an op or an AK or M4 or whatever, and then someone else is playing in pit. So as they pour out, you have a nice crossfire set up, so they'll be dealing with them from there. They'll be pushed all the way out here, and then you can kind of do work over here. And again, if I'm holding sight itself, I like to play this spot just because only your head is visible. You can kind of sit here and then fall back over here, peek there, come down here, change your angles. There's a lot of different angles you can change rather than just being locked into like holding goose from here. You know, they swarm you, you're done. But if they do swarm you, what you can do is go like this, let it pops right there, and then peek them. And they'll be blind. So if you get in some hot water, that's something you can kind of try. Just kind of go like this. Don't let it blind you, and then peek them. Again, I don't really like holding sight like this, but sometimes you gotta. So you can kind of throw a smoke, like so. And then flashbang over if you think they're gonna be coming. I mean, the way you hold the sights on Dust 2 are very basic. Sometimes you'll see an opera up here, or holding this angle. But keep in mind, you can shoot through this box, I'm pretty sure. Well, I guess not. You can shoot through the corners of it, though. So if they're holding, like, right here, keep in mind, you can shoot through that. And again, it goes right through the box. Even went through that wall a little bit. Interesting. So again, you can shoot through that box, depending on your angle. So if you're holding, or retaking the sight, you know, you can do that. Sometimes I see people do this, or I've seen someone do this before. They'll throw a smoke down like that, and then they sit underneath it. It's one-way smoke. They can see your legs and pick you like that as you're pushing in. So that's something you could try 1 or 2 times maybe, but I wouldn't recommend doing it often. It's a very dangerous spot to do, or to sit, because, you know, if they see you, where are you gonna go? You can kind of hop up here and try to get away, but it's very slow. I guess sometimes I see people doing this. You can kind of hold it from here and watch as they cross, but I don't know, sometimes I'll see this happening. Oh, and if you do have to go for a retake, I like to do this kind of thing with a flash. It blinds them on sight, and you can kind of do kukli shots or whatever and push in. But those are just some very basic things you can do to hold off the terrorists as a CT. Again, they're extremely basic. They're nothing super duper like tactical or anything like that. A lot of the CT relies on you setting up crossfires with your teammates. So again, having somebody back you up, get the trade kill, you know, literally having a crossfire. You know, you're looking down here, over here, and they're looking over here. Literally a crossfire. So it relies a lot on having your teammates set up a crossfire here. But hopefully this video helped you guys out, and as always, thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.